So Krillin has PTSD. I guess when you really think about it, it makes sense. I mean, if you're thrown into those situations to where you're fighting Deborah, Cell, Boo, Frieza, Ginyu Force, Nappa, so on, obviously that's gonna leave a big, impact on your mental state. And judging by what has always happened to Krillin when he fights these said foes, it tends to have him getting wrecked. So, this episode shows something that should have been relatively obvious, but it dives into it, and the way it dives into it really shows what has been bugging Krillin over the many years since he has given up martial arts. Now, as we know, last episode and this episode now is focused on Krillin and trying to realize what he has lost since his fight with Super Boo when Boo killed him. He's trying to rekindle that flame, and that's exactly what 18 wants Krillin to do. And as she stated in last episode, you're no longer the person I fell in love with. You don't have that, drive like you did when you had that courage to stand up and break that remote and save me. In certain moments throughout the entirety of the series of Dragon Ball Z and Dragon Ball, Krillin has had a lot of courage, but over recent years you could see that he's relatively lost that, and it's something that really worries and bugs 18. 18 means well by it, and she wants Krillin to realize what he has lost. And throughout this episode, Krillin must face his fears, which on paper, it's a relatively simple plot idea. I mean, we've seen it many times throughout other series where characters must overcome their fears, face their greatest fears, and realize how to better themselves. It's something I've seen from so many other series throughout anime, manga, and regular literature, and it's not something that is brand new. However, it always is a treat to see characters facing their fears and overcoming things that really bogged them down for a very long time. And in this case, it is Krillin and how he has changed, how he must face the things that he had trouble with overcoming. And Krillin finally stands up and tries to face his greatest fears. He faces Frieza, he faces Cell, he faces Super Boo, and when you see these certain faces and how he stands up against them, he realizes what he needs to do in the message of this training. But on top of that too, there was another message, which I think was more for the viewer of this episode of Dragon Ball Super than anything else, which I'll get into that in a moment. But the main point is that Krillin learned what he lost, and he also realized that he needed to overcome his PTSD and actually become, stronger, strong-willed. And I respect how Krillin finally overcame this challenge, this problem that has been bogging him down for a very long time. And as I've already stated, it's not the most original plot I have seen from any other series, but it's always a blast to see characters facing stuff that always makes them feel like they're weak or they can't really do anything. And when Krillin, yells out to Goku and says, "I'm not like you," he straight up yells with fury. You can feel the fury in his voice and what is, plagued him for so long, how he knows that he is not like Goku. He can't jump into a fight. He can't be happy from the next fight to the next. He can't always be like that. He knows he's not like that, and he realizes this, and Krillin came to a self-realization of what was wrong with him. He realized what was wrong with him, and that was him facing what was wrong within himself throughout this episode. And I mean, moments like these in Dragon Ball Super, even in Dragon Ball in general, are kind of rare nowadays, especially for characters like Krillin. I mean, as I've said in my last episode, most of the time, it's only our main powerhouse characters are always probably getting development, and it's not usually our characters that became more, support characters or even less than that, because they no longer can really participate in big fights, anything major. And that's what I've noticed from Dragon Ball Super. It's been trying to do that. It's been trying to incorporate these characters that have been, left out in the sun to just dry and rot for so long, and they're finally trying to bring these characters back to front and center, which we have seen now with Krillin, what we were seeing going on with Gohan, and I mean, as we already know with, the big tournament go on with all the universes, there's a bunch of, people in the roster now, because I actually got to look at it, that, is going to be joining as well, that hasn't had the spotlight for a very long time. And so I do like the path that Dragon Ball Super is taking with these characters, and these characters haven't been shown for a very long time now. I'm glad to see them finally stepping up and wanting to try to better themselves. So getting into the part I briefly mentioned about how it was more for a message for the viewers instead of Krillin, let's talk about that final scene with Krillin. When you saw the ki all the way around him like that aura, I feel like that was letting us know that there could be a different direction in terms of power levels in this series. Now, I don't know if any have already theorized this and talked about this in the past, but I feel like that's kind of what the message of that scene was for us as the viewer, letting us know that even if characters don't become powerhouses like a Saiyan, for instance, they can't go to Super Saiyan God, or they can't, go regular Super Saiyan, at the very least, some characters that might not be that strong could possibly still stand up and be able to fight stronger opponents, and the reason for this would be ki control. What is the big thing that the Gods of Destruction know, or Beerus knows? He knows ki control, and he doesn't even have full mastery of it, which was revealed. But on top of that, Goku's been trying to learn ki mastery, where he can control his ki and learn how to manipulate it, and also be able to do things without really even thinking much about it. And that's kind of what you see going on here. Krillin was able to use his ki to make it to where his mind was no longer plagued by the PTSD that dragged him down, and also was able to overcome the fear in front of him. And when you see this scene, and we see the ki all around him and all that, it kind of indicates that maybe there is a potential possibility for characters like Krillin, even though they're not as strong as Goku, they're not as strong as Vegeta, or even Gohan, they might still be able to put up some form of fight, because if they can learn ki control, if they can learn how to master it, they might be able to have some chance. Maybe not the greatest chance, but they might be able to hold their own. And so I do hope the direction that, Dragon Ball Super is trying to take might be something like that, especially with us seeing that scene with Krillin learning how to once again control his ki, how to, change it to where he can make his mind at ease, like meditation. So if that does happen, good for you, Dragon Ball Super. I really want that direction, because there's so many characters in Dragon Ball Z, Super, and Dragon Ball that honestly, I would love to see have more spotlight. I don't want it always just being Goku and Vegeta. I love Vegeta, I love Goku. I love seeing them just going ham, kicking ass against the villains. I fucking love that. However, I do like seeing characters that have not been in the spotlight for years now actually having a good opponent. And I mean, Vegeta still needs his good opponent as well, but I still like the new direction that Super's really trying to take with the characters. Now, with that being said, I do want to briefly talk about something that many have been asking me to talk about, and so I'm just going to give you my thoughts here and now. Many have been asking me, Chibi, what's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on, the female Broly going on? That female Broly image that we all saw. So I saw it when it first came out, and honestly, the reason why I didn't do a video on it is because I just really didn't feel like it. I'm just going to be completely honest. So, up front with all of you, I just didn't feel like making a video, and also everybody else was already making videos on it, so there's really just no point for me to, talk about it when everybody else was, because I didn't want to just be a rehash of what everybody else has already said. But anyways, though, my personal thoughts on female Broly, it's cool. It's cool to see, like, this, character that's a Saiyan, it's a female, transforming into something that looks like Broly, and I mean, I can't wait to find out the characterization of this character, see why the character looks like that. I mean, transforms into a big buff-looking Broly. I mean, I want to find out about this character, and it's one of our first times really seeing in Dragon Ball, like the anime series, a female Super Saiyan. I'm not talking about games, I'm not talking about Xenoverse, not talking about Heroes or anything, I'm not talking about any of the Dragon Ball games. I'm just talking about in the anime series, this is going to be the first time, this is the first time we have seen a female Super Saiyan. So I am pretty excited for it. I really have always been excited to see, like, the designs of a female Super Saiyan, and I do hope it's not just looking like a female Broly. Hopefully there's more to the design than that. I don't want it just looking like a beefed up female Broly. I want a nice contrast between it. But regardless, though, I am pretty hyped up for, the female Broly. I am pretty hyped up for, the upcoming arc, because I did get to see the images and stuff like that. Clown God of Destruction. Pretty interesting stuff. I mean, that Clown God of Destruction looks weird as fuck. I mean, yeah. Oh yes, and one last thing before I end this video of Dragon Ball Super, I want to ask, how did everybody feel about seeing the Flying Nimbus once again? That was straight up, like, nostalgia. Like, holy crap, I did not think I would see the Flying Nimbus ever again. That brought back my childhood. I'm like, damn, you give me some Krillin development, you give me all these villains, the super villains from Dragon Ball Z and, Dragon Ball in the episode, and then on top of all that, you give me the Flying Nimbus, and Goku riding it. Like, that nostalgia. Like, that was beautiful. That made me feel like I was a kid again. So, how do you all feel about that one? I'm just very curious about that. So, with that being said, I wish you all a very great day or night wherever you live. Please be safe, and I love you guys. Chibi out.